Within about 30 hours from the time that I record this message and send it to you, families all across our community and across this nation are going to be gathering together to prepare to sit down at a Thanksgiving meal. This is kind of an odd Thanksgiving, in my opinion, at least for me. The news here lately has just set a tone that tells me that our world is in turmoil. When you look at just the events of yesterday, with the plane being shot down, the tension between Turkey and Russia and Syria, and all that is going on, when you think about all the news that we've been hearing about the Syrian refugees, do you realize that among those refugees there's 3 million Christians in the Middle East that are fleeing persecution? 300 of them are being killed every month. Another 750 of those Christian refugees are being persecuted, tortured, threatened, raped. Churches are being burned everywhere. Across our nation, violence is breaking out in so many corners. The video that we saw last night of the Chicago cop and all that is going on in Chicago right now. Jesus said these words, that in the last days the love of many would grow cold. We see the evidence of that all around us. And here we are getting ready to sit down at Thanksgiving tables and give thanks. So how do we do that? How do we get that perspective? I want to share with you 2 examples that kind of touched my life as I thought about them this morning. One is Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a German pastor living in Germany during the reign of the Nazis, during World War II. He was bold, and he spoke out constantly the atrocities that the Nazis were perpetrating against the Jews in that country. Dietrich Bonhoeffer eventually was arrested by Adolf Hitler, and he was put in one of the concentration camps, and then ultimately was hanged and put to death. But his testimony of those who knew him and heard him and saw how he lived his life in the midst of turmoil with a very thankful heart. Listen to these words that Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote just prior to his being hanged. He said, "By gracious power, so wonderfully sheltered, and confidently await, come what may," in other words, whatever happens to me, "we know that God is with us night and morning, and never fails to greet us each new day." There was a heart of thankfulness that he was able to just exude during great turmoil in his own nation. Now, the other example comes even earlier than that, from a man by the name of Habakkuk, who was a prophet living in extremely desperate times. And you talk about the world being in turmoil. In Habakkuk 3, starting in verse 17, Habakkuk says this. He says, "Though the fig tree should not blossom, and there be no fruit on the vines, though the yield of the olive should fall and fail, and the fields produce no food, though the flock should be cut off from the fold, and there be no cattle in the stalls." Do you hear the desperation that's going on there? It wasn't like that first Thanksgiving when they had an abundance and shared the abundance. He's living in a time where there not only is no abundance, there's nothing, at least externally, to be thankful for. And then he says this, he says, "Yet, even in the midst of all that, I will exalt Yahweh the Lord. I will rejoice in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he has made my feet like hinds' feet, and he makes me to walk on my high places." An attitude of gratitude, an attitude of generosity, to give to others, to share with others in times of great turmoil. Believers, followers of Christ, we have that opportunity in our nation over these next few days. People are going to be so caught up. I encourage you, don't get caught up in Black Friday and the madness that goes on of trying to get. Take time to be thankful. And you may say, well, thankful for what? You've just given us some horrible news about things going on in our world and stuff. What I want to suggest to you is this, that thankfulness does not start with what we have. Thankfulness isn't about what we have or what we've been given. At least it doesn't start there. But thankfulness starts According to Dietrich Bonhoeffer and Habakkuk, thankfulness starts with not what we have, but who has us. If you belong to Christ, you have the full inheritance that God has set apart for His children. If you belong to Christ, you're a new creation. The old is gone. If you belong to Christ, you're a royal priesthood. You're a holy nation. Don't you think that this is a good time for us to be living that way? May you have a blessed Thanksgiving, and may you have the full knowledge, the full realization of God's presence and ownership upon your life. Happy Thanksgiving from the church family at Freedom Church and from the Ball household. God bless you.